Thank you so much. This was definitely the best introduction I have ever had. She didn't tell us about her mini wake-up call that she writes beautifully about today on the Huffington Post. Just very, very quickly, I kind of loved it because it shows what our brains can do. She was shopping with her son and her mother. It wasn't really going very well, kind of nobody particularly wanted to be there. And suddenly her mother says, "Where's your bag?" And you panic. And the description of the panic is absolutely wonderful. I don't want to take anything away from you reading it, because suddenly you said you'd been in war zones, you'd been in prisons, but you had not felt this fight or flight fear of losing your handbag. And you ran out of the shop trying to find the thief who had run away with your bag, and there was nobody there. And then you come back and your mother says, "Maybe you left it in the car?" And that's where the bag was. And I love how your son described it to his dad, which his mom went out of the shop running after an imaginary thief who had stolen her imaginary bag and had run away in an imaginary car. So my wake-up call came 7 years ago when I collapsed from exhaustion, burnout, and sleep deprivation, broke my cheekbone, got 4 stitches on my right eye, and as I came to in my own pool of blood, I asked a lot of the questions that you're asking here at this school that we often stop asking after we leave college. Questions like, what is a good life and what is success? And while by conventional definitions of success are successful, by any sane definition of success, if you come to in a pool of blood of your own and nobody has shot you, you're not successful. So I started reading and studying philosophy, science, trying to piece together what was happening, not just in my world, but in our world. And I had always loved philosophy. I had remembered, what the Greek philosophers had taught us about studying 3 things. What do we need to know? How do we govern the city? And what is a good life? And gradually, in the last 2 centuries, the question, what is a good life, was abandoned. And we defined a good life with a successful life. And we shrunk success down to these 2 metrics of power and money, which is really like shrinking the whole realm of human possibility down to our to-do lists. And so that's when I came up with this idea of the 3rd metric, because the 2 metrics are like the 2 legs of the stool. You cannot sit on that stool for too long without falling over. It's not sustainable. The 3rd metric consists of these 4 pillars, and each one of them is a section in the book. First of all, our well-being. 2nd, wisdom. How do we tap into our own wisdom? 3rd, wonder, and Alain de Botton writes a lot about wonder. I love all that. How do we bring it into our lives through art, through nature, through being awake, through not multitasking? And the 4th one is giving. How do we create a culture that celebrates not just go-getters, but go-givers? And I wanted very much the book to be a bridge between knowing what we should be doing and actually doing it. And so, as well as having 45 pages of scientific endnotes, because I feel it's extraordinary that modern science now is fully validating ancient wisdom, I wanted to have all these practical steps. So each chapter ends with 3 very small baby steps that each one of us can take right now to begin to bring about these incremental changes. And I'm sure a lot of you are already doing a lot of that. For me, just very quickly to go through 3 little steps and then we'll start our conversation. For me, the first step was sleep. I know it's dismissed, especially by men, as completely unnecessary. I had dinner with a guy recently who bragged that he had only gotten 4 hours sleep the night before, and I thought to myself, but I didn't say it, you know what, if you had gotten 5, this dinner would have been a lot more interesting. And the science now is incontrovertible. In fact, I told a graduating class that I gave a commencement to at Smith, a graduating class of women, I told them that my advice to them is to sleep their way to the top. And the fact that now it's seen as a miracle drug by science, improving our health, our mental clarity, our joy, shows how far our culture has gone from what is true. The second step has to do with our relationship with technology. We have become addicted, which is why I chose 12 steps. And our addiction to technology is something which we really need to cure ourselves from. Otherwise, technology is truly becoming our master. And a very simple step is at the end of each day to pick just one particular time, it may change from day to day, when you take all your devices, you turn them off, and then you gently escort them out of your bedroom. Because that's the time, if no other time, to reconnect with yourself and have a transition from your day life to your recharging, renewing time. I remember being in Luxor a few years ago and going to the sleeping chambers of the Luxor temple and realizing what a ritual sleep was. It was a time to actually let go of the day and allow other wisdom and other deeper understanding to come into your life. What we do in modern life largely is just we crash. And then the alarm wakes us up and we dash immediately to our smartphone lest we miss anything during the night. And just one more step, which doesn't have to do with our bodies, but it has a lot to do with our minds and our souls. And this is, at the end of each day, find something that no longer serves you and drop it. It can be a grudge, resentment, something you're angry about, or it can be a project that you're not really going to invest time and energy into. One project I recently gave up is skiing, learning to become a good skier. I decided, you know what, I was not really going to become a good skier, so it was very liberating to realize that you can actually complete a project by dropping it. So skiing is done for me. I actually, when my daughters want to go skiing, I can sit by the fire, drink hot chocolate, and read a good book. So let me wrap this up by saying that if we're lucky, we have 30,000 days to play the game of life. And how we play depends on what we value. And if we primarily value these two first metrics, we're never going to have enough, because there is always somebody who has more. And as the Onion headline puts it, death rate holds steady at 100%. And those of you who are studying philosophy know that the Greeks, like Socrates, urged us to practice death daily. And the Romans used to carve memento mori, on statues and trees, not out of a sense of being morbid, but out of a sense of wanting to put life and everything that happened to us, including losing an imaginary bag, in perspective. So, if you've been to a memorial recently, you know that eulogies have nothing to do with our resumes. You've never heard anybody during a eulogy say something like, George was amazing, he increased market share by 1/3. So, every religion and many scientists have really said the same thing, that we all have in us a place of wisdom, strength, and peace. And it is as close to us as our next breath. If we only take a little time to cultivate what in modern life has become for most of us a deserted garden. So, As Archimedes, the Greek mathematician, put it, give me a place to stand and I can move the world. So Thrive is really a book to help us chart a pathway to that place. And from that place, live our lives according to our own definition of success, with more compassion, more gratitude, more peace, more joy, and yes, more sleep. Thank you.